Alliance addressed a press briefing earlier on, and to flesh out the issues that came out of that briefing, we now cross live to our reporter, Fana Pete. Fana, thank you so much for joining us. First of all, we know that the language policy has been really at the core, at the root of the recent clashes at universities, particularly those here in Gauteng. What came out of the briefing with regards to the language policy?
Indeed, an alliance of those with diverse political views took place in Pretoria. Something that was much unusual for the parties to come together. We know the views of Afriforum, we know the views of the ANC, and the two have never been friends or bedmates. But today, we saw this development when the two came together in order to fight or defend education, particularly learning at the University of Pretoria. Here we see this organization saying in one voice that tomorrow education must begin at the University of Pretoria. And they are determined to do everything in their power to make sure that this thing goes on smoothly. They will physically be present at the university to make sure that learning and teaching goes on there. Any disruption at the university will be met by the law enforcers of this country.
But Fana, were there any specific and concrete actions that was agreed upon, at least to stamp out the issues of racism at universities?
It has been agreed that tomorrow the parties will work together to make sure that this university gets opened. They will protect the students using the law enforcers. But what is important is that it has been emphasized to the students that affiliate to the ANC Alliance and those who affiliate to Afriforum that there's a need to discuss. It has been accepted that there are differences between the parties and that those who are suffering are those who are in the black majority because they have other issues that they need to address. But what was important was that as they complain about these issues, they must make sure that they do not go against the Constitution, because the Constitution supports the use of Afrikaans at this university. Much as they cry more about English, they must know that the Constitution is there to protect Afrikaans, and they must allow Afrikaans to be part of this. Afriforum says they don't want Africans to fall. They instead also want Sepedi to rise, meaning that if this has been addressed, blacks must see that their languages need to be protected, much as Afrikaans has to be protected. One should not fight in order to have his views coming above others, except in a discussion form where there must be engagement, there must be intellectual debates, and in order to do away with racism. And they must accept that others will remain black, others will remain white.
The other contentious issue, Fana, is the outsourcing of workers within the various institutions of higher learning. Was this issue touched on, and what was the common understanding around it?
Hope Papa, who is the secretary, the Gauteng provincial secretary, emphasized that we should not only look at outsourcing and insourcing as issues of that can be done with overnight. We should, and the students must also understand this together with the workers, that there are contracts, legally binding contracts that have been signed between companies and the university, and those contracts are binding and they remain legally binding. And that if a contract is still on, if the university decides to do away with this contract, it means the owner of the contract can take the university to court, meaning that the university will lose more money, which could have been used for other things. So it must be agreed that whenever a contract comes to an end, insourcing takes place in that specific field. And if a contract is still on, it has to be respected. And this the insourcing should come in the form of phases, and that this should be a message delivered to all workers, to all students. So it was addressed, and that the contracts that are still in existence should be respected.
And another hot potato, Fana, when we talk universities, is the issue of student financial aid. Was this discussed?
Very interesting development in that regard. The Afriforum says it is an organization that mainly represents the wishes and the aspirations of African-speaking people. But when it comes to financing, they are saying they have an open door policy. Any student, black or white, affiliated or not affiliated to Afriforum, is free to come to their offices to ask for financial assistance. They say they have the resources that they want to share, particularly with those coming from previously disadvantaged groups. ANC says the policy is simple. There is finance that the government is providing, and that those students who come from poor backgrounds must access those finances. But I think that most interesting development was when Afriforum said it is ready to finance any other student on merit.
And you may know very well, Fana, that particularly from the University of Cape Town, we had allegations that black students were being discriminated against in terms of accommodation. Was that issue on the table?
The meeting said that it is clear that there are issues around accommodation, but emphasis was made that it is in some cases being exaggerated, because if you go to a university like TUT, for instance, it is said that more blacks are given accommodation than whites. But it would appear that in each and every university, an outcry is that blacks are denied accommodation. But the two groups are continuing with discussions, are continuing to work together in order to resolve these issues. They will be approaching the management of the University of Pretoria to discuss this. They will also make their own investigation to make sure that allegations such as blacks being denied accommodations are addressed. And they hope that the university management, together with the council of the university, will look into this matter, and once they have discussed this, it will be resolved. They are determined to make sure that this comes to an end.
Mm-hmm. And finally, Fana, when business resumes tomorrow, do you expect that universities will be back to business as usual, or is it universities all in Gauteng or right round throughout the country?
Unfortunately, the emphasis was on the University of Pretoria. So what they are saying is that at the University of Pretoria, there will be this contingent. There will be, the alliance will be there. Both the Afriforum and the ANC, together with their structures, will be there to ensure that education goes on. The unfortunate thing is that there are other players at these universities. For instance, the students affiliated to DA, the students affiliated to EFF, who are not part of this meeting. But we haven't had chance to speak to them. We hope we will have spoken to them before the end of the day to hear what they are saying about this and whether they will support the initiative as we saw today. But all in all, we expect that tomorrow there will be some calmness, as long as most of the students who are affiliated to Afriforum, or say all students affiliated to Afriforum and those affiliated to ANC structures, go back to class, meaning that there will be probably those who will be isolated. But from my observation, the DA students have been not so much involved. They have been in class. They were involved during the Fees Must Fall. But on the issue of Afrikaans and English, I haven't seen them being involved. So we expect to see them in class tomorrow. We want to be positive that tomorrow it will be back to business.
All right, thank you so much. That was our reporter there, Fana Pete, speaking to us live from Pretoria. And